A mannequin with minimal AI and simple combat abilities wields a bamboo sword. Sunraku easily defeats several of them, ranking them from D to G. One mannequin has slightly better AI, but Sunraku still ranks it an E. Finally, a strong swordsman mannequin appears, and despite Sunraku's effort, its rank remains at E. In front of Sunraku is a mannequin of minimal AI and simple patterns, possessing only a bamboo sword. He easily dodges its attacks and defeats it with precise strikes, receiving S grades. One of the mannequins is defeated with a single blow to the forehead, while the last one receives a B grade. Sunraku remains unaffected and reminds himself to not let impatience dull his skills. The mannequins are not enemies to be feared. The protagonist yawned on the way to school after staying up too late playing Nephilim Hollow, blaming Rust for dragging him into 3 duels. He worried about staying awake in Japanese class and was surprised when Saiga approached him, asking to walk together. They chatted about their interests in liberal arts, but when the protagonist's friend questioned their relationship, he brushed it off. Later, at the Wolfgang Guild hangout, King Pencilton discussed intel on the Black Wolves and the absence of Saiga, causing tension among the members. The group discusses how to handle the Black Wolves' demand for information about Kutanid of the Abyss and Lucan. Sanraku believes the information is too valuable to share and suggests spreading false information or involving a third-party mediator. Later, Aramis delivers accessories as promised, including Lapistella's Star Mantle, which can store and release up to 300 magic spells, and Levin Trigger Hazard Gloves, which can bestow a special status for a certain period of time by pressing the right thumb's gem against the chest. The Sealed Amber has 5 categories based on the risk level and attributes: crude, dense, pure, hazardous, and extreme. Hazardous is more powerful than extreme but causes backlash. The user must consciously activate the effects. Special status, Levin Hazard, has a Cloak of Thunder that reduces damage and paralyzes on contact. Special status, Hazard, grants the overflow effect with increased motion sensitivity, but decreases HP every 10 seconds. This seems overpowered. A bunny was making an accessory in a rocking chair. The bunny introduced herself as Emil's sister and the owner of the accessory shop. Sunraku asked for her help to open his accessory slot. She agreed and offered to show him her creations. The maximum amount of accessory slots is 6, and Sunraku currently only has 1. A bracelet he was interested in would use up his only slot. Sunraku asks Efuri for help with opening his accessory slots and experiences slight discomfort. He considers testing his new accessories in battle, but questions the practicality of his outfit. Sunraku purchases several dolls from Efuri's shop and decides to visit Break. He heads to the Colosseum to test out his new accessories in battle. The sound of experimentation filled the air as Sunraku tried to find optimal solutions for his accessories. He opened available accessory slots, went to the Colosseum to verify trigger hazard, and consulted with Break's workshop. Sunraku discussed Lapistella's Star Mantle, which allows for storing up to 300 spells. He noted the merits of pre-recording spells into its gems, making it worth the expensive price. Sunraku tested another accessory, Levin Trigger Hazard, which increases mobility at the cost of HP. After activating it, Sunraku felt the power flow through him and ran uncontrollably, colliding with a wall. Sunraku wakes up in a fancy bed after dying in the Colosseum. He learns that he died after crashing into a wall. Using motion correction, he experiments with his abilities, but learns about the dangerous overflow state. Sunraku decides to train in the art of basic movement while in overflow state. Before they can go, Sunraku learns that he and Emil were supposed to go to Break's place. Entering Break's workshop, Sunraku and his friends find the Black Bunny working on a shield called Dispata. The legacy weapon was superb, and Sunraku was absorbed in playing with its trigger gadget. Next, Break gave them a sea sword. Blue Predator made with refined underwater creature materials, which Sunraku questioned could be used with the shield. The last items were the helmet and waist armor, modeled after the giant oarfish called Reikadiamond Set. Sunraku realized he looked like a Spartan warrior. The performance of the new equipment exceeded Sunraku's expectations, and he decided to keep it in his inventory. He and Emul then set out to complete another unique Scenario X quest. Sunraku remembered that the Delta devices were located in the ruins of an old castle that he had visited before. However, he also realized that many players were currently searching for him in Fifthsia. Sunraku considered various options to avoid being followed and eventually decided to teleport to Elevental. After arriving in Elevental, Sunraku considers visiting the Crystal Scorpion Field but thinks better of it, realizing the area is dangerous. The destination lies in the opposite direction anyway, consisting of an open field and the ruins of a castle with monsters that won't be easy to defeat. According to research, the minimum monster level is 80, and rear guards could get decimated in minutes without proper defenses and countermeasures. Meeting other players in this high-level area is unlikely, but there may be rare materials and valuable items to be found. Sunraku and Emul pass through the castle's main gate that is destroyed and crumbling with lights starting to light up as they move further into the ruins. The technology from the Age of Gods is still intact here. Sunraku wonders about the previous civilization that was more advanced than they are now, but ended up wiped out completely. While venturing through the ruins, they encounter both fixed and wandering types of monsters. Sunraku and Emul explore the ruins, finding a cyberpunk-like room with a mysterious contour knight in the center. Sunraku decides to engage in a one-on-one battle with the knight using a shield and single-handed sword. Although unable to attack the lines that make up the knight's shape, Sunraku realizes attacking the insides works. With the help of his skill and Blue Predator sword, he depletes the knight's magic power and health before it crumbles apart. Displeased with the enemy's AI, Sunraku concludes he will only return if a quest leads him there and proceeds to move forward with Emul. Monsters with the same name can have different characteristics in this game. Sunraku parries a spiked iron ball with his shield and pierces a contour knight's throat with his sword. They discover that monsters here can absorb magic, rendering magic casting useless. They discuss which direction to go and suspect the important objective may not be at the top of the structure. They search for a way down and eventually find an elevator. They speculate that it might have been a standard way of moving between floors during the era of the gods. Sunraku proves his intelligence by using his sword to test the depth of the hole. He and Emul prepare to descend the hole despite the risks. Emul doubts their plan, but Sunraku reminds him of his ability to use magic. Sunraku activates teleportation spell, a port, to descend the hole. Sunraku and Emul both fall fast, but Sunraku uses his skills to traverse downwards. Sunraku uses his power of imagination to imagine grabbing onto the rope at the bottom of the shaft. He successfully reduces his falling speed, and a black electricity emerges on his body. Sunraku manages to catch himself just in time. Sunraku tries to help Emul, who is suffering from the effects of a debuff. They have reached the bottom of an elevator shaft, but are greeted by another hole. They find 3 Delta devices, which they have been searching for, but Sunraku advises caution due to the possibility of traps. With the help of AR technology, they navigate a holographic screen to locate a video file, which they watch. A fat, seemingly weak and unlucky mad scientist has succeeded in reaching the root. He talks about sacrificing soldiers and being the savior of mankind. The holographic image is disrupted, and there are screams and loud metallic tearing sounds. The scientist is being eaten by something with tentacles growing out of its body. He speaks of an activation code before being dragged into a huge hole, never to emerge again. Despite the destruction, he managed to convey vital information. The protagonist realizes that he is trapped in the ruins, after watching a video of a scientist being dragged and eaten by something that emerged from a hole. He hopes that he can activate the elevator as part of his quest, but worries that it may be part of a later quest or impossible to achieve. The protagonist reflects on safety specifications in games and considers the scientist's actions. Although Emil feels hints of Vorpal's soul in the scientist, the protagonist does not. He concludes that the place is dangerous and decides to leave quickly. He and Emil remain on guard, ready to flee from the elevator at any sign of danger. After 10 seconds of silence, the protagonist looks around for any signs of danger and recovers the Delta devices. They realize the scientist was trying to pass the devices and throws a piece of junk in to check if it initiates self-destruct, but there is no reaction. The items are put away, and they use a recording eyeball to record the last video of the scientist. They consider creating an all-ages version without the Guro stuff and wonder about the 2 corrupted files. Sanraku remembers a translucent cube from a previous battle that could store data, but they have trouble locating the slot to insert it. Eventually, they find the right place, and the cube proves to be more than just a simple accessory. The light overflows. In this world, the concept of life and death is just a small pebble in reality. Aging is irreversible and equalizes everyone. Heavenly Sanctuary, a dangerous area, is the home to a particular monster, Siegwurm. Players are challenging Siegwurm with the hope of defeating it, but Siegwurm mows down players effortlessly. Siegwurm is the largest and strongest creature, with no one able to match his might. However, the loneliness is eating away at him. Soon, the 3rd branch will be cut, and Dragon Disaster will come back. Siegwurm believes his existence is a trial for humans, and if they overcome him, they can overcome Dragon Disaster. Be strong and overcome him. Sunraku encounters Saiga-san on the way to school and learns that she is struggling to find enjoyment in repetitive tasks in her VR game, Shanfro. Sunraku suggests 2 possible solutions: increasing the number of tasks to do or doing them with a group of people. Sunraku also receives an urgent email from Pencil Warrior regarding trouble caused by Kyogoku, making for a hectic weekend ahead. Meanwhile, the Dragon King declares his intention to defend his reign against humanity in the upcoming Dragon Disaster War. In the game, a monster called Ascension Horn is a rare and valuable creature. It has the ability to deflect projectiles and emit lightning shockwaves. Its horns are highly sought-after materials for potions and weapons. However, the spawn conditions are not fully clarified, so only a select few players know how to find and hunt it. Saiga Zero is one such player who relentlessly hunts Ascension Horn alone in the mythical forest. The task is nearly impossible, but she persists as she wants to sever her ties with the Black Wolves. In another location, Katsu, Kyogoku, and Kyotimat meet to discuss guild matters. Kyogoku boasts about accidentally PKing and stealing high-tier equipment from Black Wolves members. Despite Kyotimat's discomfort, they discuss Sylvia's debut in Shanfro. 2 friends, Sunraku and Pencilton, discuss the potential danger of the infamous player No Name and No Face. Another player, Kyogoku, has angered the Black Wolves Guild, and they are now seeking revenge and trying to take down Wolfgang, Pencilton's guild. Sunraku considers the possibility that the guild's hatred towards them may be because of his possession of unique information. They decide they need to recruit more allies, but carefully choose what information to disclose. The guild also has other issues to address in order to better their reputation and chances against the Black Wolves. The PvP they discuss is not for action games, but rather for simulation games. Regardless, their main objective is to protect their interests and position in the game. They confront Professor, despite knowing it will be difficult since she understands their current situation. They play a recording and demand her full cooperation in exchange for helping her. They disclose information to stay ahead of any potential backlash. Sunraku and Pencilton needed Library's help in case of an all-out war with the Black Wolves. They met in a conference room at a prestigious inn. The magical girl wannabe from Library was like Pencilton in her tactics. Sunraku held valuable information about the world quest and had a trump card to use in negotiations. Sunraku threatened to put his unique Scenario X quest on hold if negotiations failed, but he didn't like the idea of playing the game secretly. It would take patience to wait for the next opportunity to push the unique Scenario X. The Guild Wolfgang discussed cooperating with the library, but debated how much information to disclose. They ultimately agreed to sacrifice a joker, and the Guild offered to give more information in exchange for the World Truth Book and a rematch with Kutanid of the Abyss. The wannabe magical girl was surprised at the offer, but the Guild emphasized its track record with unique monsters. The negotiation took an unexpected turn when the library requested the Guild's help with a matter on the new continent. The magical girl. Wannabe misinterpreted the Guild's words and offered to trade information on a raging snake god. The library hoped to negotiate exclusively with Sunraku. Pencilton was surprised Foxes would negotiate with Sunraku alone, but her smile revealed an anticipated play. Pencilton believed expenses were justified if the library was on their side. Sunraku was wary of giving away info so easily. Pencilton had cleverly left out Katsu and Kiyotimati. Sunraku didn't want to drag all his game friends into the conflict. Sunraku would play the game his way without worrying. Sunraku went to Waisash to give him Delta devices, but missed him and had to wait. Sunraku played another game where Ryugen Fugaku was a secret boss. Fugaku was a trace AI made to preserve samurai spirit. Fugaku could be unlocked by collecting letters and placing them in order. The speaker is halfway through a game, and while some missions are tough, the tutorial is helpful. They perform poorly against AI opponents and wish they could adjust their stats. They unlock a hidden difficulty level and try dual wielding, but struggle against an opponent named Ryugen Fugaku. Frustrated, they log into another game and summarize their progress conquering dungeons. They question whether defeating unique monsters is the only way to clear the unique Scenario X, and wonder what makes a unique monster unique. They plan to report their achievements and check on a friend at the Colosseum. The quests, Invitation to the Bunny Country and The Epic of the Vorpal Bunnies, are difficult, especially for new players, as they involve fighting high-level monsters. Sunraku, an experienced player, has conquered many difficult games and bosses, but is impressed by a player's defeat by the Grim Reaper lookalike and its True Quiet move. Sunraku plans to defeat the secret boss Ryugen Fugoku with the help of Waisash, who requests specific materials from monsters admitted to be strong. Sunraku and Emul obtain the materials quickly, and Waisash strengthens a weapon for Sunraku to use in the quest. The materials to create Yuzuki required strong monster materials. Sunraku didn't want to invite others to farm for weapon materials. He used materials from past battles to create new weapons. Sunraku wanted to fight True Quiet alone, but didn't voice it out loud. He observed Akitsu Akane's tenacity in fighting. They discussed True Quiet's gimmick in the Colosseum waiting room. The Reaper's grab was triggered by its shadow, and the Vorpal bunnies helped Akitsu Akane fight. Sunraku wondered why Waisash wasn't an enemy in this unique Scenario X. Sunraku realizes that he gets frustrated when he can't fight alone, but he also feels that he has not wasted his efforts playing solo. He boasts to his friends that he succeeded in using an instant death grab attack against the Grim Reaper monster. Aside from this special attack, the Reaper is not a real threat to the player, but still formidable. Sunraku believes that it is best to figure out a monster's weakness based on the story and world views rather than just numerical values. In order to beat the Reaper, Sunraku and Akitsu Akane buy and use many healing items until the monster is defeated. They feel like they are wasting too many potions, but get lucky when the scythe belonging to the Grim Reaper drops as loot from the monster's corpse. Despite his excitement, Sunraku manages to keep his composure. The protagonist is thrilled to have the chance to face a strong ghost warrior in an online game. They appreciate the mental and physical challenges posed by the warrior's attacks, but also understand the importance of avoiding negative emotions when playing games. The protagonist values the unwritten rule of not treating new players poorly and believes that players should never force their own playstyle on others. They meet Break Oni-chan, who informs them that the weapons they commissioned are ready. The protagonist admires the newly created weapons, Whale Rabbit Moon Kinsho and Meiki, for their cool names and similar crystal ornamentation. They are impressed with the weapon's abilities and finally see the Vorpal soul attribute openly displayed on them. Sunraku tested his new dual swords and found that they met all necessary requirements, including Vorpal soul level 200 or above. However, raising this particular hidden stat worried him, as it could not be measured and might leave him unable to use it when needed. The sword's effects were a debuff for Kinsho and a buff for Meiki upon landing a critical hit. Sunraku didn't feel the need for this new weapon, but Waisash gave him a busy beacon, which could summon Bahamut. This made Sunraku connect the dots, revealing Bahamut was a machine or born of science, not just a monster. He wondered how it related to Behemoth and Leviathan, possibly gods' names in this world. However, he prioritized learning more about the busy beacon. A person tells Sunraku that there are still coordinates available to find something, but warns him to watch his step. He also tells him there is a way to invalidate markings on his body temporarily. Sunraku becomes overwhelmed by the information. He then goes to an office to seek advice and meets a grey bunny who greets him politely. Sunraku and his companion seek advice on how to alleviate debuffs caused by a unique monster. Waisash tells Sunraku that stronger curses can counteract a curse, and the strongest curse can only be exhibited by one of the 7 unique monsters, who is the nemesis of all Vorpal bunnies and constantly invades rabbits. In the virtual world of rabbits, players can undertake a unique scenario called Touring Around the Bunnies Country, aimed at stopping invasive bunny-eating snakes. The answer to why such monsters appear lies with one of the 7 unique monsters, whom the protagonist, Sunraku, discusses with Edward, the de facto ruler of rabbits. The situation is dire, with Goldenine's forces digging tunnels to bypass rabbits' defenses and sending raiding parties through them. The 7 unique monsters include Goldenine the Inexhaustible, taking on the form of a snake and posing a constant threat with her endless supply of soldiers. Rumors suggest there are greater snakes leading the rest, posing a deadly threat to tunnel defenders. A curse of poison can mark defenders as dead, killing them off with poisonous fumes. Unless the divider monsters generating the poison are defeated, the situation in the tunnels will lead to an unprecedented disaster. Sunraku realizes that he can counter the poison curse's effects due to receiving Night Prowler Lucan's wounds. He plans to use Kinsho's crystallization ability to complete the quest. Edward shows Sunraku and Emul a map of the tunnel where battles with the dividers take place. Edward points out various points on the map and makes unreasonable requests. Sunraku agrees to the plan even if he is not ready. Sunraku thinks that a big defensive operation will take place in Rabbits in about a week. Pencilton prepares for a fireworks show in response to the Black Wolves' threats, and Sunraku wants to see it. He wonders if he can record the events and decides to take a nap. The saying, "Slow and steady wins the race," teaches caution as the approach to achieve the best outcome, which is logical and wise. Despite his occasional recklessness, Sunraku avoids trouble and prefers a smart approach. He arrives late at the meeting and breaks in through a window, surprising Pencilton. Sunraku explains his appearance and says he experimented with removing his armor while in Rabbits, and now his chest hurts from running. The delegation going to meet the guild, Black Wolves, includes Sunraku, Pencilton, Katsu, and Kyogoku. Everyone is anticipating a possible fight, but Sunraku knows it's unnecessary. The group is waiting for the Black Wolves to arrive. The trio discusses why someone hasn't arrived yet for their meeting, but Kyogoku is more focused on the glares she's receiving. Black Wolves is divided into factions, and Saiga 100's presence indicates important talks. Pencilton makes a provocative statement, and tension rises. The Wolfgang members decide to leave, and Sunraku narrowly jumps out of a window, causing Pencilton to laugh uncontrollably. Katsu points out their safety, and Sunraku notices that Black Wolves is also affected by their taunts. Sunraku uses a cutesy tone, which causes conflict. Sunraku breaks a window and attracts attention. Two wolf packs begin negotiations about equipment that was PK'd. The victims must pay the market price plus interest to reclaim their items. Sunraku explains that PK is not illegal, but a game style meant to be enjoyed. Sunraku's inventory protects his prized possessions, and he seeks a compromise to resolve the PK incident. Kyogoku had taken ownership of all equipment involved in the PK, but despite having the power to keep it all, she decided to give the equipment back to its rightful owners. However, the Black Wolves had to accept Kyogoku's crappy price or receive nothing. Sunraku was curious about Pencilton's plans, as she had anticipated the situation. The next point of the meeting was to be discussed, but before that, Sunraku greeted the late arrival of Ray. 4 guilds, Wolfgang, Black Wolves, SF Zoo, and Library, formed an alliance, promising to share any information they had on unique monsters, and not take action on quests without approval. Sunraku violated this by pushing Lucan's quest and defeating Kutanid of the Abyss. The leader of the most powerful guild in the game, Saiga 100, wondered why Sunraku proceeded without permission. Sunraku explained that it was an accident while on the way to meet friends in another game, encountering SF Zoo members who accused him of cracking Lucan's code. After defeating Lucan, a Black Wolves member accused Sunraku of cheating. Sunraku responds calmly to being accused of cheating, finding it amusing rather than angering him. He argues that calling someone a cheater is often just jealousy, and explains the difficulties he faced in defeating Lucan. Sunraku is disgusted by the accusation and calls out the accuser for their incompetence. He then reveals his powerful weaponry, which can match Saiga Zero's Armageddon. Sunraku clarifies that 5 people were involved in defeating Lucan, including a new recruit to their guild Wolfgang. Sunraku also explains that his defeat of Kutanid of the Abyss was a coincidence during an unrelated quest. Saiga 100 demands that Wolfgang reveal all of their information about unique monsters, but Sunraku rejects the request. Sunraku observed a member of his guild, Pencilton, talking back to someone from the Black Wolves Guild. This surprised even the Black Wolves member, Saiga 100. Pencilton stood her ground, asserting that they were not slaves to the Black Wolves and had no contract obligations to share information for free. Sunraku noted that this confrontation was like walking through a minefield, and Pencilton had taken control of the conversation. She mentioned that other clans would pay for unique information, like SF Zoo and Library, who keep information to themselves. Sunraku and his guild seized the opportunity to poke at the Black Wolves as much as they possibly could with the needle of legitimacy they had. The vice-captain of the Black Wolves, Riberios, then appeared, with Pencilton taking the lead in the conversation. Despite Saiga 100's deep sigh, she allowed Riberios to take her place at the table. Sunraku possessed sympathy for him, knowing he would be a scapegoat in their comedy. Before their meeting with the Black Wolves, Sunraku and Pencilton discussed their plan. They aim to make all members of Black Wolves understand where they stand regarding their 2 factions. The Saiga 100 faction wants to defeat Night Prowler Lucan, while the Riberios faction wants to remain the strongest guild. Pencilton has insider information from her best buddy Momo-chan, who is not aligned with either faction. The real problem will be the players from the Riberios faction, who may try to exploit or absorb Wolfgang. The meeting is organized solely by Pencilton and Momo-chan, and Pencilton is having fun interfering in the inner affairs of Black Wolves. A phone call was made regarding ShangriLa Frontier. The leader of a small guild is asked about their decision to join forces. The Black Wolves' decline is inevitable, and their leader wants to defeat unique monsters with a small group. Wolfgang is seen as weak by the Black Wolves, and they offer them to join forces. It is revealed that this is all a farce, and Saiga 100 is watching and waiting. 4 different people play different roles, with the main character's role being unclear. Sunraku's role in the meeting is to agitate the Black Wolves, questioning why a guild with skilled players and excellent equipment has yet to defeat a single unique monster. Ribikun tries to defend the guild's track record, but fails miserably. Sunraku provokes Riberios until he threatens to cut him down, which leads to the announcement of a new 6-guild alliance. Sunraku's eccentric behavior doesn't faze his team, used to his antics. The previous 4-guilds alliance relied on one guild providing information about unique monsters, while the other 3 guilds received benefits. The new 6-guilds alliance was different, with one guild having an advantage over the others. The 6 guilds, including the top players in the game, introduced themselves and their guilds. The 10 PM army were working members. Library prioritized lore. SF Zoo played with animals, and Sacred Shield Territory focused on role-playing. The Wolfgang Guild proposed a new alliance, and their conditions included sharing information on unique monsters and aiding allies. Riberios was shocked by the agreement, but it was all thanks to Penselton's work. The rules that bind the alliance together have no real meaning upon closer inspection. The library is at a disadvantage with the distribution of information, but the support to other members is not obligatory, and failure to comply with this condition has no consequences. The gunball condition makes buying information with money easy. All of the conditions are bluffs, created to deceive the Black Wolves and hurt Riberios. Saiga 0 wants to transfer to Wolfgang, and the Black Wolves will allow it if she pays them plus the expenses of recent magic scrolls. The Black Wolves are unaware of their situation and are being controlled by Penselton. Kyotimart calls the situation a farce, and it's time for Katsu to speak and detonate their plan. Despite the pre-planned talk, Saiga 100 requested Riberios and his followers be isolated from the Black Wolves. Riberios got angry about Saiga 0 being sold to the Wolfgang Guild and urged for a more traditional way of settling the dispute, leading to a proposed duel by Katsu. The high-value items in Sunraku's inventory could potentially pay Rei's debt. During this, Josette questions the purpose of the inventory bracelet worn by guild members, leading to Sunraku explaining its infinite storage capabilities. Someone shows excitement about an item that allows unlimited inventory space. Another person, not José or Carocious UQ, joins the conversation and asks about the item. Sunraku explains that it is a reward for defeating Gravekeeper Wezeman and cannot be traded or sold. Other items associated with unique monsters are also obtained through battles. The group discusses the world quest and rumors of dragons appearing on the new continent. They plan for a duel between 2 guilds and take time to regenerate before the event.